All right. Hey, hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ayushi. I lead admissions here at Mesa and excited to be hosting this session today. First of all, congratulations to all of you on the call. You've now cleared your Mesa admission test and you're eligible to interview with us. I know some of you are also in the interview process, currently going through different rounds. Excited to be hosting this session today. The session is designed to give you a lot more clarity about how the interview process is designed. What are some things that you can keep in mind to sort of ace them? We have Aditi, who was instrumental in creating and designing this process with us today. She's also the director of careers at Mesa. She will be taking you through the interview process and some tips around that. But before we sort of delve into that, as you can see, we also have Varun, who is our co-founder. He's going to talk you through what are some of the goals that we have for the cohort 4, which is going to be some of you guys on the call today, and how that also sort of translates into the interview process that's designed. So, all right, we're good to start. Varun, over to you.
Hello, hello. Excited to be here. Thank you for taking out time. Congratulations to everyone who's on the call. You made it past the MESA admissions test. I think our rate of selection there is roughly 10 to 15%, if I'm not wrong. So you're amongst the top 10-15% applications that we have. Now, I think it's for you to take the next step is to finish the interview process here at MESA. The reason why we do this session is because unfortunately a lot of candidates do not take the interview process seriously. So it's very important that you take it seriously, and that's why I'm here to guide you through the process. The way we are going to tell you, the way we are going to tell you as to what it is that you need to do to really outperform your competitors and really stand out and be amongst the 150 students who are going to be a part of the fourth cohort. The way we are going to do this is, number one, I'm just going to walk you through how what is it that we look for in candidates. Mesa is a different kind of a business school. We look for only 150 students, and when we are looking for 150 students, we are also working backwards from their outcomes. So every time we are evaluating them, we are also making this judgment call as to what are the kind of outcomes that we can deliver to those students. And that's what you also need to keep in mind. When you are presenting yourself in the interview process, you need to present yourself in a manner in which it gives Mesa and its team the right amount of confidence that we can give you the outcomes that you desire from the program. See, I think what everyone on call needs to understand here is that outcomes are a summation of a few things. It's the quality of the peer group and the quality of the cohort. The second is the kind of experience that you have here at Mesa, the exposure that you have here at Mesa. And the third is the careers team and the magic that the careers team will do. I am very confident about the program and the experience and the exposure. I'm also very confident about the career team and the kind of sourcing and the kind of prep that they can do. We have seen it over the past 3 years now. So it's up to you to now kind of prove to us that you have the desired skills that are necessary for you to go through. Now, for you to understand what are the skills that you need to kind of show us, or the traits that you need to show us, or the mindset or the behavior that you need to show us, we thought that it would be a good idea for us to share what are the goals that we have set for the fourth cohort. You're going to be a part of that cohort. When we are evaluating you, the way we are going to evaluate you is, can you fit into the 150 cohort in a manner in which it makes our job easier when it comes to achieving the goals that we have set for the fourth cohort? And it's obviously going to be like that, right? And that's how we've kind of designed the process. There are 5 main goals that we have set for the fourth cohort. The first goal that we have set for the fourth cohort is that we are going to be targeting an average CTC of 32 lakhs per annum. And I'll kind of tell you how that kind of translates into the interview process. We are currently the first 2 cohorts, they graduated at an average CTC of somewhere around 26 lakhs. Currently, if you see with respect to cohort 3, we are on track to achieve average CTC of somewhere around 28 lakhs. And now we are going to be pushing ourselves when it comes to the fourth cohort in achieving something like 32 lakhs. Now, that does not mean that just give me 1 second, guys. Just I'm sharing the screen, right? Everyone can see my screen. Ayushi, is there
Uh,
Oh, okay. Got it.
Okay.
Okay. Got it. Sorry. So the first thing is that we are setting a goal that we want to achieve an average CTC of 32 lakhs for the cohort that you're going to be a part of. And what that means is, see, achieving an average CTC of 32 lakhs is very easy if you were targeting back-end MNC roles, because they hire in bulk, and they will pay you money. But the problem there is very different. The problem there is that you might get replaced by AI the next day, and nobody will really care. Getting a 32 lakh average CTC in a startup is much harder than getting an average CTC of 32 lakhs in an MNC. The reason for that is that if you're getting a 32 lakh per annum salary in a startup, that means that you're working with the founder directly, or the founder at least knows about you and knows about how much you're getting paid. And what that means is that the founder is going to be evaluating your performance very, very, very closely, because 32 lakhs is not a small amount. What this means is that you need to have an incredible portfolio of horizontal skills that you can be displaying as and when the startup needs you to display them. These could be these could be skills like sales, building a product, managing a team. It could be working closely with the founder to manage the founder's schedule, solving problems on the go. You are going to be thrown at problems. You will need to manage P&Ls. You'll need to manage categories. You'll need to start new businesses. And all of this requires a level of skill, that is a combination of you coming with the basic aspects, you coming with the right level of coachability, and then we giving you certain kinds of exposure that take you to that level. For us, there are two or three things that are very important. One is you need to display some level of structured thinking. We are not expecting you to be structured problem solvers already. There are very few of them that really, are there in the world. So we don't expect you to be one of those people, but we want you to at least attempt structured problem solving. And there are going to be cases that are going to be done with you, and Aditi will probably walk you through what the actual interview process is going to look like. During these case studies, what is given more weightage is not the outcome of the case study. What is given more weightage is how did you really think about the problem, and did you at least try to structure your thoughts? Please definitely do that. So that's number one. Number two, the way you communicate matters a lot. In any job out there, and especially the jobs that are not going to be replaced by AI, communication is going to matter a lot. And that what that means is make sure that whatever it is that you're doing during the interview process, stay calm. Don't fumble and try to talk very fast. Talking very fast does not mean really good communication skills. Take a pause, be calm, but make sure you're able to display that you're a good communicator. Now, being a good communicator does not mean you having really good English, by the way. A lot of people feel that, oh, I can speak really good English, that means I'm a good communicator. Not at all. Being a good communicator means that you understand what the question is, that you have paused and you have formed your thoughts, and you've been able to communicate those thoughts in a manner in which your audience understands it the best. It's as simple as that. So make sure that throughout the interview process, you're showing very strong communication skills, because these are skills, to be honest, you will have pretty much, I would say, every single week, you're going to have to make a presentation to a startup leader or a founder or a VC. So we are going to put you out there, and definitely your presentation skills will grow. You will have better personality, you will have better confidence. But the underlying communication skills, if they are very, very, very poor, we're not going to be able to do a lot with it. So we need that base level of communication skills. So that's the first goal that we have set for the fourth cohort, which is to achieve an average CTC of 32 lakhs per annum. So your goal in the interview process should be to present yourself so that we can feel that we can take you from wherever you are, 8, 10 lakh, 12 lakh, 13 lakh salary, to a CTC of at least 30 to 32 lakhs, so that we can see you as being a part of the cohort. The second thing, and this is a very important thing, is that we are going to be targeting 80% of our cohort landing jobs in super early stage startups. And I'll tell you what our philosophy behind this is. The philosophy behind this is that we believe that the most exciting work, the most amount of wealth creation, the most amount of career growth happens in a certain kind of a role. And that role is as follows. imagine that you're working as a chief of staff for a founder's office or an early, founding member in a startup, which has been formed 6 months ago, which has raised $4 to $5 million in capital, which has a founder that has already had an exit in the past or has worked with a brand like Zepto, Zomato closely with the founder, has a lot of VC connections and startup network. And at the same time, the startup is at a stage where it has less than 30 people. The reason why we like those kind of roles is because number one, you are going to have funding for the next, like you have a runway for the next 2 to 3 years. That means you're going to get to do a lot of work, and there aren't going to be a lot of limitations when it comes to resources. And what this means is that it's really going to allow you to experiment. It's going to allow you to take ownership. It's going to allow you to push yourself when it comes to taking on new tasks, projects, working closely with the founder, building new things from scratch. And people who have done this in the past, we have seen regularly, are people who in the next 4 to 5 years pretty much become extremely valuable in the startup ecosystem. And that could be through the fact that you make a lot of money through ESOPs. But even if you don't make a lot of money through ESOPs, your salary will grow very fast because you make yourself indispensable to a startup founder. Then the startup founder is going to be ready to give you 30-40% pay hikes, which is usually what I've seen happen. The other thing that starts happening is that if you work here and you do a really good job, you're going to get a fantastic letter of recommendation or a referral from the founder themselves. So when you move to the next startup, you're going to get those roles, and the exit options that you have are going to be many, right? And that's why we feel that the best kind of roles to chase are these. Unfortunately, I would say that these are the hardest roles to get into, because if, in today's world, if you were to go to any IIM Ahmedabad or IIM Bangalore, if you go to the top students there, they are either going to the McKinseys of the world, or they are wanting to get into these roles, which are early stage startup roles. And what that means is that you will need to be a finished product by the 12 months of the Mesa experience. And while we have a lot of experiences that are there for you, we also need you to believe that you can be there. And again, coming back to this fact, during the interview process, put yourself in a position where we will be able to evaluate you and say, we will be able to give the right kind of inputs, the right kind of resources, the right kind of networking opportunities, the right kind of connections, the right kind of career prep to the student, so that we can take the student from wherever they are to being a founding member in a super early stage startup. So work backwards from that. You can take a screenshot of this and put it on Claude and ask Claude, how do I prove to a business school that I can be somebody who can work in a super early stage startup? I'm not going to spoon feed all of this information to you. So put that on Claude and ask Claude, and make sure that you're showing those kind of traits in throughout the interview process. The third goal that we have is that 10% of our cohort is going to be placed internationally. Now, for you to be applicable for these kind of roles, again, communication will need to be top notch. You will need to have the ability to talk about your experiences in India in a very in-depth manner. So make sure that, there's this very common question that comes up, which is also going to be asked during the interview process, which is, tell me something about yourself. Please make sure that you're doing a fantastic job when it comes to explaining what experiences that you've had so far. Now, moving from careers to building, I'm sure that a lot of you on call here are not just here to get jobs. You probably want to build a venture. We've got a very focused goal that we want to have 10 fully funded startups from the cohort. Now we are very sure that we are going to achieve this, because with all the traction that the previous companies that have come out of Mesa has gotten, there are now almost 60 plus VCs that are looking for deal flow through Mesa as well. There's a very good chance that this is going to happen. But at the same time, this is my advice for entrepreneurs who are coming into Mesa. Number one, when you're going through the interview process, make sure that you're talking about a problem first mindset. And you're going to be tested at some point of time about the problem first mindset. A lot of people come here to Mesa wanting to build a very specific solution. And when we ask these people what it is that you want to build, they come in and they say, I want to build a jetpack or whatever it is. They come with the solution. You will be asked a lot of questions on why is it that you want to build that specific thing. And we are going to go very deep into that. And I'll tell you what the reason behind it is. The reason behind this is that when you will come to Mesa, you will start learning about the problem first mindset. If you want to build a really large startup from scratch, if you want to get funded, the most important thing that you're going to have to choose is a large problem space, a problem which is urgent, a problem which is a hair on fire kind of a problem, a problem where customers face this problem with massive frequency and are ready to pay money to get that problem solved as well. So given that that's the case, everything in and around what I just spoke is about the problem and not the solution. Now, with the solution, what usually happens is that when you take the solution to market, you start realizing that your solution has gaps. It becomes version 1, it becomes version 2, version 3. There's a possibility that your solution might completely change. We do not like founders that come with a solution first mindset because they don't show that coachability, they don't show that flexibility. So that's why for students who are coming here, who are wanting to build companies from scratch, especially if you are wanting to be amongst the 10 people who are going to get funded, it's very important that you show the problem first mindset, that you work backwards from how large the problem is to defining the problem, to defining the customer, to defining the use case in which the customer faces the problem, and then going on to talk about the solution in the last 10% of the interview as well. If you are somebody who has already started a business, I can give you a guarantee that in one of these interviews, one of the mentors or startup leaders or founders or CEOs who are going to be interviewing you is going to go very, very, very deep into your business that you have built. Please make sure that you show a lot of depth, because if you've built a business and if you are not able to answer the basics of your own business, that shows us a massive gap in how you've built it. It also kind of breaks credibility. So please make sure that if you're somebody who's built a business in the past and wants to talk about it during the interview process, go into the absolute basics, go into as much depth as you can. We love that. Every interviewer loves that. But please make sure that you're not forgetting the basics. Please make sure that you're not getting the basic numbers wrong, because that leaves a very wrong impression on whoever it is that is taking the interview. When we are looking at people to fund, it's very important. We don't back an idea, we don't back solutions, we back entrepreneurs. When they come to Mesa, we spend 12 months with them. We've got an in-house incubator. It's all people first. We take them through a journey of picking a problem to making a solution, to going to fundraise, to getting traction, and so on and so forth. It's very important that we also find you coachable, guys. And this is one of the most important things that sometimes gets missed out, that intent and coachability is far more important than skills. If there's a very smart guy who comes into the Mesa cohort but is not ready to listen, is obtuse when it comes to getting feedback on the product, is not ready to change, does not have intent, does not come in for check-ins, does not come for demo days, I'm not going to be able to do anything with that person. I would rather have a person who's open to say that, hey, you know what? I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, I know there are certain skills that are missing in me. So I'm going to make sure that I take advantage of every single resource that is available here at Mesa, whether it's the one-on-one mentorship, whether it's the capabilities of MSL, whether it's one-on-one time with the startup leaders or the founders here at Mesa, whether it is demo days where you get to pitch to VCs. I'm going to take advantage of all of those things. I'm going to listen to the Mesa team and make sure that I am one of those startups that gets funded. So this coachability, likability, your ability to be flexible, your ability to be problem first is something that defines what a good entrepreneur here at Mesa will look like. And finally, I think just to finish the goals that we have, we also have a goal that there are 15 now startups that we want to incubate as a part of incubators that we've tied up with. And there are 25 incubators that we've tied up with. These are global and Indian incubators, including the Foundry. There's Beyond Seed, which is Arjun Vaidya, which is a Singapore-based incubator. There's Entrepreneurs First, which is Silicon Valley. Out of the first 30 students who were chosen for Entrepreneurs First, the first 30 batch, 2 of them are Mesa students. Now we want to grow that. There's also Campus Fund and many others, Atrium Ventures as well. So I think the portfolio of incubators that we are tying up with is also growing. If you're somebody who's really serious about building, then we are also going to try to push you into these incubators. And we've set a target for ourselves of getting 15 of our startups into these top incubators. 4 of those are already in for the third cohort as well. So I think same advice as is applicable to the earlier slide. If you're somebody who wants to build, and is very serious about building, show the right kind of traits that show that you're a good entrepreneur, that you're open to learning. Especially with entrepreneurs, both me, Ankit, the core team here at Mesa ends up working almost one on one. There are almost 3 or 4 startups that we are angel investors in. We can only do that if we like the person. So basic likability and coachability is very, very, very important. If you're somebody who's going to be building a business from scratch, we don't expect you to have a business idea. That's one of the things that, sometimes a lot of people misread, that, oh, if I want to be a successful entrepreneur at Mesa, then I need to have an idea already. Not at all. 99.9% of the times, even if you have an idea, it's going to change in the first 1 month that you're here at Mesa. As soon as you get exposure to so many VCs, founders giving you feedback, your perspective of the world changes, the way you think about problems and ideas changes. So we are open to this. We also ourselves have a repository of 150 ideas that we want the world to build, and nobody's building it. So you can also pick from those as well. So just kind of going through what our goals for the fourth cohort are. And this is what you should be working backwards from, that if I want to get into Mesa, I need to prove to the admissions team that I am worthy of undergoing a 12-month program which is designed for me to be able to achieve these goals as a whole, as a cohort. First is 32 lakhs of average CTC. The second is 80% the cohort in early stage startups, 10% internationally placed. Fourth is 10 fully funded startups and 15 in incubators. So that is what we are working backwards from. When we are interviewing you, we are going to ask ourselves this question, that does this student help us achieve these goals, or does this student not help us achieve these goals? If the answer is the former, then you get an offer. If the answer is the latter, then you get rejected. So make sure that you're working backwards from these as well. I'm now going to hand it over to Aditi, who leads careers at Mesa. I think careers at Mesa is probably one of those very unique things that is unique to Mesa. It's a team of almost 45 super professionals who work closely with almost 500 plus startups, listening to their needs, understanding their needs, working backwards from their needs to pretty much create a career prep journey for students right from where they are to where they want to be. If you think about it, there are 150 students in the cohort, out of which 30-40 end up building. 120 students will probably go for jobs. And given that it's going to be a team of almost 40 people, they work with you on a 1:3 ratio. That's the level of support that you can expect. But what that means is Aditi is also looking for fantastic students to be a part of the cohort. And up to you, Aditi, to kind of walk the students through how you've designed the interview process to filter and curate the right candidates for the program. Thank you so much, everyone. Best of luck with the interview process. You can start sharing your screen, Aditi.
Thanks, Varun. Wait 1 second, please.
Hey, Aditi, thank you so much. Thanks, Varun, for taking out the time to doing this. We now have Aditi, and we'll sort of delve into a little bit more deeper into how the interview process is designed. Aditi, who's been instrumental in designing the process itself and has also taken like tons of interviews so far for the 3 cohorts that we have on the campus, right? So some things that usually go wrong, some things that you should be mindful of, all of those things we're going to cover now. So we can start now, Aditi. Why don't you like take us through why and how the process is designed before we sort of delve deeper into it?
Got it. Thanks so much, Ayushi. Hi, everyone. It's great to meet all of you today on a Saturday afternoon. I'll just quickly start off with an introduction of myself. I know Varun told you a lot about the kind of startups we get you into, the kind of support we provide on the career prep side. But today, let's just step back a little bit and look at the interview process for Mesa. I think that's the first step into getting into all of this prep. So we'll deep dive into that. I'll walk you through some examples, some case studies. I'll also walk you through the entire process. Throughout the discussion, if you have any questions, I'd love to see the chat box buzzing. Ayushi can help us keep track of what's coming up on the chat box in terms of questions, and I'm happy to answer along the go or towards the end, however you folks sort of, I'll leave it up to all of you to lead us on that. So quickly introducing myself, I'm Aditi. I head startup partnerships and student careers here at Mesa, which is essentially careers for all of you. I've been with Mesa for a year and a half. I'm a part of the leadership team here. Prior to this, I did my undergrad from BITS Pilani in electronics and communication engineering. Didn't want to pursue that pathway, so ended up picking education as a focus area for my career. Worked in social impact for the first 10 years of my career, especially in consulting and at the grassroots level. Went to Harvard, did my master's in education policy. So yeah, it's been quite a ride. I think the sort of core focus of my career so far has been to solve 0 to 1 problem statements in education. So I think Mesa is right up in that space. I think what we're building for you is absolutely new age, and from all the feedback that we've been getting from our startup partners is absolutely spot on in terms of what startups require in terms of talent pools at this point in time. So yeah, so that's about us. I'll quickly tell you about how we've designed the interview process, right? So when we sat down to think about what the interview process should look like, we said, hey, we're not enrolling folks into an MBA program, which is backwards from consulting, right? We don't need people to just be able to solve a test. I'm assuming all of you have done that right now, and you're yet to pick a slot for the interview. So we just don't need people who are capable of solving questions on a test. We need folks who can think, who can problem solve, who can communicate, who can ask tough questions, and who can make decisions, right? I think in a startup environment, the biggest challenge is we're all making decisions with imperfect sets of information and data, and we're just doing the best that we can in that moment. Obviously, being data backed, obviously thinking first principles, but we're working through a lot of ambiguity in being able to do that. So that's how we've designed this admission process as well. So the first thing we look for when in our admission process is first principles thinking and problem solving, right? What does this mean? So if I were to give you a problem, right? And for example, the case that we're solving today is on how to increase Maggie sales in India, right? Am I an expert on that? No. Do I expect you to be an expert on that? No. But I think the ability to think first principles is just core to doing well as an operator in a startup, right? It's just being able to break down a problem into smaller parts, think very, very structurally in terms of how these parts relate to each other, not overlap, and then break it down into one problem and take a bet on it, right? I think that's super critical in terms of being able to function on a day-to-day basis and deliver in a startup, right? Because everyone is working on problem statements that you've probably never encountered before, right? So the first thing that we check for in the interview is first principles thinking and problem solving, and we do this through the AI based case interview, and our mentors check this in their interview as well in the second round. So that's the first one. The second is proof of work and fit for startups. Now, what do I mean when I say proof of work? Whatever you've done, if you've worked in your family business, if you've done consulting, if you've worked in a startup before, or if you've been a software developer before, right? There's different KPIs that you would have had, there's different goals, there's different metrics that you would have been assessed on. And that is essentially what we're looking for. We're not looking to know what the exact goal is only. We also want to know what you did, what efforts you put in to get there. So when we say proof of work, we're looking for the depth, we're looking for rigor, we're looking for your ability to think back on what you've done and tell us about how you solved a particular problem, right? And through this, we're not just looking for quality of work, we're also looking at your intent, your hustle, your ability to take feedback and improve, right? So for example, if you come back and say, in your mentor round that, hey, I did everything to reach the target goal that I had of reaching 100 CR revenue in 1 year that my father had given me, and I could have done nothing better, our mentors would probably reject you. I'm telling you right now, right? Because we're looking for people who are coachable. Because honestly, in a startup environment, it's not about right or wrong. It is about making the most of today's situation. And there's always 100%, especially now with AI, there's always a way to make it better, right? So we're looking for proof of work and your fitment for startups, and coachability is one of those critical things that we look for when we're interviewing you in the second round. And the third is clarity of thoughts and goals, right? We want folks who come into the program having thought of what they want to do a year from now, right? We want to understand how Mesa fits into your overall goals. We want to understand how this fits into your 5-year plan, what you're coming into the program looking for, right? Varun told you enough about careers, about Mesa Startup Lab, about our Idea Lab Sprint program. There's also a capstone project format that we run, which is called Business Strategy Lab. So there's multiple options at Mesa. I think in the last 3 years, what we've seen is folks who come in knowing what they're gunning for, use the 1 year effectively. Those who come in to explore entirely, they kind of struggle, right? Especially if they're not ready to accept that they're exploring, right? So if you're exploring, sure, I want to know that you're exploring, but do let us know that you know that you have a couple of options in mind. You're thinking through a couple of options, and these are the options that you're thinking about, right? That just helps us understand whether this is the right fit for you or not. Especially if you're thinking of getting into startups or consulting, I think that's a great question to dabble with. We'd love to know about that. So the interview process is also a way for you to discuss with the mentor and get inputs on how Mesa can be a right fit for you, not just vice versa, right? So I think the third thing that we look for in our interviews is also just clarity of thought and goals. We want to know what you want to do with the 1 year that we're giving you, because honestly, it's just 150 seats that we have, and we want to make sure we have the best 150 students in this cohort. Great. So let's deep dive into the 3 steps of the process. So the first, like I said, is the AI case interview. We'll solve a sample case study to help you think through how to approach that round. The key thing that we're looking for in this round, like I said, is your problem solving, ability to think first principles. After this, you get into a mentor round. Why have we designed a round with our mentors? So when we were putting together the admission process, we realized that one, we want our admission process to be reflective of how startups hire, right? Which means that the process had to have a case study. It had to have actual people who hire in startups doing these interviews, right? So I've been on interview panels because we hire for our team too. We have mentors from top startups in India, right? From Epigamia to Razorpay. And then I'll talk about this more, but everyone who's going to potentially hire you in the future, these are the folks who are taking your interviews, and who better than them to check whether your work is the right fit for the startup ecosystem, whether your goals are matching what Mesa has to offer. These are mentors who've been with us for 3 years now, and they've seen our students go through that journey of 0 to 1 in their own business building. They've seen our students go through the transition of their careers through the 12-month program. So they know what works, right? They know which kind of personas will do well in the startup ecosystem. And therefore, we have mentors doing these interviews in the second round. And the third round is a video assignment where you will solve 2 live case-based questions. Again, here we're looking for problem solving, intent, motivation, and hustle, right? So these are the 3 steps. Let's look at them one by one. All right. So on the AI case interview, right? There's 2 ways for me to take you through how to do this. One is to walk you through each of these points, right? Which I can do at the end. But one is to actually solve a real case study with you, right? So I'm going to do the latter because we're all about real life, practical, hands-on at Mesa. So I'm going to start off by solving a case study. Ayushi is giving me 2 options. I decided to go ahead and pick the first one, which is to say, if I had to increase the sale of Maggie in India, how would I do it, right? So the first thing in any case-based interview is to ask clarifying questions, right? Now, I want to ask clarifying questions about increasing the sale of Maggie. So when I think of increasing the sale of Maggie, and the reason why I'm going to refer to my notebook is because I actually solved this problem statement. She just gave this to me 10 minutes before the interview, before this session, and said, now you have to solve it, right? Because it has to be as real life as possible. So I've actually solved it in my notebook. So the question I'm asking is, are we looking at growth in terms of the customer base? Are we looking at increasing profit? Are we looking at increasing market share? Or are we looking at specific channels? So are we looking at online versus, like, for example, Zepto, Blinkit, online marketplaces versus offline through Kirana stores? Or are we looking at B2B options? For example, restaurants increasing the revenue, the sale of Maggie products, right? So for example, a lot of restaurants list Maggie in their menu, and it could be that option as well, right? And the first option is to ask questions to clarify your thinking. So you want to understand from the interviewer, what is the goal, right? Are they looking at growth? Are they looking at profit? Are they looking at market share? And what is the issue, right? What's currently changed about this, right? Is it a pricing problem? Is it a distribution problem? Marketplaces versus offline, or is it just a problem of new competitors coming into the market, right? And for me, in my mind, when I played devil's advocate and thought about this, I said, okay, perhaps it could be because new variants have entered the market, where nowadays you can get food in 10 minutes if you order it on Bistro or Swish, or thankfully it's in Gurgaon also now. But across the country, there are options to get food within 10 minutes. And that could be a potential reason for why Maggie sales are down, right? So the idea is to ask clarifying questions and then break this down into a framework, right? And when I put that down in a framework, I said, okay, the decision to have Maggie comes down to 4 critical things, right? The first one is choice, right? Do people have a habit of eating Maggie, right? The first one is choice. And the second one is occasion. What are the occasions? What are the meals for which Maggie is had? It's had as a snack. It's had sometimes as a breakfast, lunch, dinner. But more often than not, it's had as a snack along with something else, right? Or like 2 orders of Maggie, if you wish. The third is product availability. I think product availability wise, Maggie is spread out pretty far and wide, right? Both across marketplaces and offline Kirana shops. Product availability is not a concern, but the third thing is product availability. And the fourth is the friction, right? How easy is it to get Maggie? For example, if I want to eat Maggie now and I don't have it in my house, how easy is it for me to order Maggie? Similarly, if I'm in office today and I want to eat Maggie right now, how easy is it for me to order cooked Maggie to my office, right? So it's just the ease of getting a product. And oftentimes in business, this is a critical marker of, especially for consumer products, a critical marker of how well you can sell, right? So the 4 sort of pieces that I came down to say, these are the 4 exclusive buckets that I want to think of when I am problem solving. And through that, I came to the conclusion that, okay, occasions are there. Product availability is not an issue, and friction is also not an issue nowadays, thanks to QCOM and the 10-minute food delivery ecosystem. So all of those are fine. And then I said, okay, who is having it, when, and why not, right? Why are they not having Maggie enough is the question that I was trying to answer. And that's how I came up to one recommendation, right? I said, the one thing that seemed less when I looked at the choice and the occasion is that there are no occasions that Maggie owns, right? For example, if you think of a pizza or a biryani, they own lunch and dinner. If you think of salads, they own lunch and dinner. If you think of dosas or parathas, they own the breakfast charter, right? Sometimes lunch as well, but mostly breakfast. Does Maggie own a space in our minds in terms of an occasion? Perhaps not, right? And perhaps there could be a play on this. And then I thought of, okay, what are the other ways in which Maggie has owned an occasion? Maggie has owned an occasion in the hills, right? If you've ever gone to the hills in India, you'll see campaigns around Pahado Wali Maggie. So Maggie has owned that space. They have owned the occasion of a location as such, right? And when people go there is the occasion, but yeah, they've owned that space, and that's how I came up with the recommendation. And I'd urge all of you to end your case discussion with one recommendation, because your interviewer wants to know what that one recommendation you have is, right? You can come up with multiple options, but leaving them with options is not the choice that I would tell you to take. I would say leave them with one recommendation. The recommendation that I'm leaving you with today is to say, create a campaign around Maggie weather. Can Maggie own the weather, especially during rainy seasons, given that it started raining in Bangalore, it will soon start in the south of India and then in the north of India as well. Can Maggie own the occasion of Maggie weather? And whenever it starts raining, can all our platforms talk about this? Can Kirana stores put it in the front? Can Blinkit and Zepto promote it? Can restaurants on Zomato and Swiggy start running ads on this and send you push notifications on it, right? That will actually create a campaign around Maggie being at the forefront, as opposed to restaurants promoting other things like other rainy season foods like pakoda, etc. And that's how it can regain space in the mind on when to eat Maggie, and eventually that'll increase sales, right? So that's how I've broken down this Maggie problem statement. Would love to hear if there are other ways to do it, or other examples that you have in the chat box. But I'm closing this case study with this, right? So there's three steps, and there's a three-pronged approach to doing this. The first one is to ask clarifying questions. We want to know as an interviewer what questions you have, right? And it's very simple. When I sit in an interview, this is typically the first question that I'll ask you a question to tell me a little bit about yourself, and I'll give you a case-based interview. The case-based interview tells an interviewer, in this case it's AI, it will tell an interviewer how you think. And for us, it's very important to know how you think, because we're not gauging you on your answers. There is no right answer on this, right? Each of you would have come up with 10 other ways on how to increase Maggie sales. I have come up with this. There is no right or wrong answer. It's the only thing we are assessing is how you think, and your questions help us understand how you think, right? Your questions will also help the AI interviewer understand how you think, and that's super critical. The second is to break it down into a MESI framework. MESI means mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. It just means it could be 3 or 4 things in the framework, 3 or 4 anchors, which don't overlap at all, and collectively they represent all parts of the decision. So that's the MESI framework. And the third and the most important thing is to close with the recommendation. Oftentimes, most interviews in a case discussion don't end with a recommendation, and that honestly leaves it on the interviewer to make choices, which again doesn't give us a window into how you think. So we want to understand how you think, and therefore this is super, super important. So don't forget to do that. Right. That's the first round. Once you've cleared the first round, you will be invited to a round with one of our mentors. Our mentors come from diverse startups. We've got everything from fintech. So there's Cred, there's Stable Money, to QCom, there's Swiggy, Zomato, to the beauty and personal care space. So our mentors come from Tira, Nykaa. They come from VC funds like NK Squared and Titan. Our mentors also come from large startups like Paytm, Flipkart, Razorpay, Revolut, and Five. And the reason why we have these mentors is there is nobody better to interview you than a hiring manager who could potentially be interviewing you 1 year from now, to give you both an opportunity to talk to them right now, but also give you constructive feedback on how you can improve certain parts of your preparedness, right, for the eventual role. And our mentors not only work with our students at the admission stage, they also work with them through the year. So these are people who will see you through the year at Mesa, day in and day out. They will be your mentors for case study discussions. They will be your mentors for business strategy lab presentations. They will be your mentors for the incubator, which is Mesa Startup Lab. So our mentors are involved with our students day in and day out. Many of them spend late evenings to late nights on campus every single day of the week. And so who better than them to be assessing you? So our mentor round will consist of two parts. One is, of course, the technical assessment. So they may do a problem solving with you. So they may give you a guesstimate, they may give you a case study, or they may ask you a question about how you solved a problem in your work, right? So they may ask you about yourself, and then once you tell them, they may ask you a hypothetical question about your workplace and ask you to solve it. What they're assessing there is just problem solving. So that's one. Second is proof of work. Your mentor wants to understand what you solved, how you solved it, how many people you solved it with. If you've managed a team, how did you go about managing them? How did you set goals? How did you review performance? How did you manage setbacks, right? Each of us in our work is facing setbacks day in and day out. Our mentors want to know how you faced a setback. If something didn't work out, they want to know how you responded to it, how you fixed it. They want to know all of that. And the third is the fitment for startups, right? Coachability is a big, big necessity in startups. This is, I would say, if sometimes in startups, if you meet even 50% of the criteria, but you're 120% coachable, they may hire you, right? And I've seen this happen day in and day out, especially with early stage and mid stage founders, where they are looking for folks who are hungry, who have the intent, and who've shown some spark through a proof of work or through a problem, through a project, through solving a case study, or through building something for the company before the interview. I think startups are big on this. And so if you're coming in with the intent and with the ability to be coached, I think that's something that startups look for. And that's therefore what our mentors look for as well in our interviews. The other part of the assessment is a soft skills assessment, right? Our mentors want to understand how you pitch yourself, right? I think it's not an over exaggeration when I say every role in a startup is a sales role. It's because every single one is pitching some things to somebody, right? For example, product is pitching to engineering and marketing is pitching to the customer, sales is pitching to the customer, right? Everyone is a builder and a seller, but all our builders are also pitching to internal teams, right? So it's very important for our mentors to see how do you pitch yourself. I think that's the smallest thing you can do in an interview to tell us how would you explain something, and explaining yourself, your experience, what you've done in the past is the best starting point for that. So rehearse your elevator pitch before going into the interview. Figure out what you want to talk about, right? A 10-minute elevator pitch is a no-no. Think about the key things you want to talk about, you want to highlight from your journey. It could be from your workplace, it could be from sports, it could be from one achievement you had in the workplace. Think about that, right? And think about that not only in context of today, but in the context of what you want to build 1 year from now, right? For example, if you've done 4 years of consulting, but you want to build a ride hailing platform for women during your time at Mesa, I want to know why you want to build that. I don't care as much about 4 years of consulting. Great, you can mention it as a one line during your intro, but I would rather know the backstory behind why you want to build a ride hailing platform for women in your interview, right? That's just a small example. You could be building anything. You could be building in AI, you could be building a consumer product, whatever you want to build. Tell us why you want to build it. Tell us the story behind it. We want to know if you have a story behind it, right? So that is the elevator pitch. Rehearse it. Use AI to rehearse your elevator pitch before coming into the interview. The second thing, like I said, we're looking for is clarity of goals. If you want to build at Mesa, we want to know what you want to build. If you want to come here for a career pivot, we want to know what that pivot looks like in your mind right now. It may be right, it may be wrong, it may change over time. That's fine. We just want to know what that looks like in the moment today. And we want to understand how far you are in terms of clarity of that goal, right? 70% of students come in and change their goals, and that's fine. We just want to know what that goal right now is in your mind, right? And the third thing is, I would say online, if you look at tips and tricks for interviews, there's a lot available. Please look for those on, how do you introduce yourself? How do you dress? How do you pause? How do you ask questions? Asking questions is a big part of our interview. We're also looking to understand what you want to know about the program, right? What you want to know about us. And our mentors will be more than happy to tell you about the program and how it fits into your career goals. And not just be a one-way evaluation of your proof of work and your skills and your capabilities. So that's on the second sort of round. Just be clear on your why you're coming to Mesa. It's your life, right? It's 1 year of your life. Just be sure you know why you're coming here. We know that the program we have, the prep that we have, the incubator that we have is top notch, right? And we're striving to improve that every single day. And we know what we have for cohort 4 will be better than what we have for cohort 3. But you need to come in knowing why you want to be part of cohort 4 at Mesa, right? So that's the first one. Second is just be clear on how you want to get there. Do you want to build a business? Do you want to, join a startup post the program? Do you want to pivot? Just be clear on the how. And the third is, of course, like I said, ask us questions. Prepare your questions in advance. Don't ask a question for the sake of it. Our mentors know when you do that. So prepare 1 or 2 questions pertaining to your career, your idea, actual questions you may have after going through our website, going through the info sessions, questions that you may have after today. Prepare 1 or 2 key questions that you want to ask our mentors, because that will also give our mentors insight into how much you want to be part of the program and why you're the right fit for our program. So that's all. I think those are the two things. I think for the interview, like I said, just make sure you dress in smart formals. You find a quiet, well-lit room. Keep a pen and paper handy. During the interview, you may have to jot down things. You may, like, for example, I've jotted down my answer to the case study in a notebook. Just make sure you have something to jot down, right? Because in an interview, we don't want you to be looking at different screens. When you do that, actually, if I did that right now, you could see it through my specs. So I didn't do that because you don't want interviewers to see you, switching screens, switching tabs, or seeing that your attention is getting diverted. I just think it's a poor experience for an interviewer and for the interviewee when you do that. We know when you're doing that, by the way, so don't do that. And I wouldn't say it's not just a bad practice for a Mesa interview. I would just say it's a terrible practice for any interview overall. So just don't do that ever in an interview. And in fact, go ahead and close all the tabs that you have right now, right? Nobody needs to know what tabs you have. Make sure you join early, check your camera, mic. Just join 10-15 minutes before to check the camera, mic, make sure they're working. Make sure your appearance is kind of adjusted. You're sitting in a well-lit space where the person can see you. You don't want the light behind you. And just be confident and do well. I would say that's about it.
Right. Thank you so much, Aditi, for taking us through that very deeply. I hope everybody was making notes. There were some questions in the group, but I think I've sort of tackled most of them. So we are good. We've also extended this session quite a bit. So thank you so much for everybody else and Aditi, you as well, for, staying back till like 4 p.m. Very quickly, I think the next step for most of you on the call is to reserve your interview slots. We have now opened up some slots for the next week. For in the first half, second half, these are flexible slots that you can go ahead and book now. These are available on a first come first serve basis, so weekend would be a good time to complete that step for yourself, so that you are also in the momentum of having heard all of these things to ace, and in that momentum you should go ahead and at least start with your interview process. So all the best, and looking forward to for some of you achieving the goals for cohort 4. All right, thank you, Aditi.
Thanks.